Hello and welcome to the video review of Transformers Hunt for the Decepticons Terradive. Now, Terradive is a swept-back jet, and to be honest, when I first saw this alt mode, I fell in love. This is a phenomenal looking alt mode. I just love the sweep-back look of the plane wings. It really reminds me of a toy from G.I. Joe from back in the 80s. I absolutely adore this alt mode. I even like the orange, black, and white color scheme. That's very, very nice. Unfortunately, underneath there is a ton of robot kibble, but that's kind of to be expected. He does have landing gears that all collapse up into the figure. He comes with a weapon that will be deployed in robot mode that snaps under the figure nicely. It snaps in right here, and then there's this little holder back here that snaps it into place as well. So we'll go ahead and put that off to the side. We'll go ahead and roll up the landing gears. The figure itself is actually somewhat large in this mode. I mean, it's almost it's wider than Megatron is and just about as long. So it's not a small, it takes up a lot of room on the shelf, but it looks phenomenal in flight mode and in plane mode. I really dig this vehicle mode. I don't know why, it just really works for me. I mean, it looks sleek. It reminds me kind of a combination between, like I said, the G.I. Joe plane and Yukikaze from a recent anime series. It just looks phenomenal. So let's go ahead and get this guy transformed. This is a transformation I'm going to start off by saying is insane. The first time I did it, I was blown away by its complexity and how crazy it was, but then I realized something. This guy has almost the exact transformation as Energon Starscream from Beast Wars 2nd, that whole you have the fists back here and it folds forward. It's almost the exact same transformation. So we're going to start off by coming under here and unpegging these what will be the legs. When you do that, that will unpeg the wings from these sections right here. Now, one thing I have to say is the legs on Terradive pop off very easily. I don't know why. Before we could swing them forward, we have to take the nose cone and pull the entirety of the nose cone forward, and then flip it up. Come under here and grab the ball joints that are at the top of the legs and flip it forward. Now this is very important. You have to get this section of the nose cone behind or in between this little tab above the leg ball joint and the fuselage. If you don't do that, you cannot continue with the transformation. It just won't work. So as you can see, you have to get that in the middle there. And then you could take this, rotate it up, and then slide it back and just leave it in right there. Or you could slide it and it should lock into place. Mine doesn't. You fold the rest of this forward and then that locks into place. This part, I mean, the part that's connected to the legs. Then you could take, you can do this now or you could do it later. You could fold up these wings. We'll do it later. Take this whole back section and rotate it around completely, 180. Now, if you want, you can close up these wings. And this will form the robot's chest. So we'll come down here to the legs. First off, we're going to just fold out the legs. They're tucked away nicely. Just fold it forward and fold it out. Do the same thing for the other side, fold it forward and fold it out. Then for the wings, we actually fold them up. Then these are on a nice swivel joint. We have to swivel them 180 and then collapse them down. And there's a peg hole here and a peg here. Those will peg in. And then there's a peg hole on the wing and a peg here on the actual strut. So all of this stuff will peg into place nicely, snaps into place, doesn't move, and actually adds to the figure's stability because with the little bit of wing here, you could get off some really nice poses. And actually, you'll see when we're finished, the legs are actually angled such. They're not straight, they're slightly askew. So we will get that. Oh, I'm just going to do the same thing over here. Like I said, the legs on my Terradive figure do not want to stay on at all. So we'll do the same thing over here. Now, we'll take the torso. This is where the legs would be. We're actually going to do the same thing we did with those with Energon Starscream. We're going to come back here and fold out the thrusters and the bits underneath. Then fold down what will be the arms. And come in here and pop these open to form the hands. And then we're going to rotate this down, and this little peg will snap into this hole. So we'll just rotate that, collapse it down, snap it into place. Come back here and fold the head up, collapse that again, and then take this whole back wing section and rotate it forward. And I didn't do it in the right order, so kind of rotate that forward and then collapse it. Again, exactly like those Starscream figures. Fold that up, and then these will rotate and plug into these holes right here. Now, the one side on the figure works fine for me. On the other side, it doesn't like to stay in, so I have to kind of just finagle it until it'll stay somewhat. And then we will reattach the legs. And here we have Terradive. And this figure is nice. I mean, it's just nice. He's got a really interesting head. I'm not sure what human nationality head that's supposed to be, but it's very nice. Articulation is a little limited due to the wings, but you've got plenty of articulation in the shoulders and in the arms. The elbows are double jointed. The hands, unfortunately, do not rotate. Head can turn, look up a little bit. Unfortunately, this part that the head is sitting on my figure, doesn't actually snap into place. Legs, plenty of articulation, though as you've seen, they are very, very loose and pop off very, very easily. They swivel, they have knee articulation, you've got some foot articulation, and that's all very, very nice. The harpoon, which it is a harpoon, folds out, and then you pull it down, and the tongs will pop open. Unfortunately, mine, it's supposed to be a little wider. It's supposed to be like that wide, but mine just kind of goes straight up and down. Oh well. Now, for holding the harpoon, which is something that's really, really nice, is you can actually get it, you can hold it anywhere he wants. You can hold it on these thicker points. I just choose not to because I think it looks better if he doesn't. But I am horrible at posing toys. It's just something I suck at, among other things. There we go. If you look online, you can see some really, truly fantastic poses with this guy. Unfortunately, since my figure is so loose in the legs, he doesn't really pose all that well, sadly. My favorite pose, I think, was something along the lines of this. Something like this. Yeah, something like that was one of my favorite poses. And as you can see, even with the looseness, there is enough here, even with the loose ball joints in the legs, on the top of the legs and the hips, there is enough friction there that you can get some really nice poses. I just wish I could get him down a little farther. That's pretty stupid right there. But you could get some really nice poses. And like I said, the wings being where they are on the legs actually help out quite a bit. So, would I recommend this figure? Oh, heavens, yes. I wholly recommend this figure. This guy is fantastic, even with all the little nagging issues. A little bit of nail polish in those joints should fix the legs right up. This guy looks great. His transformation is great. His robot mode is great. The only thing I can think of that people might not like are the colors, and I can understand that. These colors aren't for everybody, but there's definitely going to be a repaint of this guy. I know a repaint is coming. I just have a feeling. So I strongly... So I strongly recommend getting a hold of this guy. Now, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm actually going to reverse transform him for you guys, simply because getting him back into vehicle mode is a pain. So some of the stuff is pretty easy, like, okay, let's flip open the arms and rotate them around, and then we'll flip back the head. Okay, that's pretty easy. Then unpeg those and flip that back around to flatten it out. Again, pretty easy. There's no real challenge in that. What we're going to get into the challenging part is just getting things lined up the further we get along. So that's my only complaint about transforming him back, is just lining things up takes patience. And it takes time. You really can't rush this one. So rotate that back around to form the fuselage. And like I said, lining things up is a pain. So we've lined those up. That's all lined up. That's all good to go. The really hard part is coming in with the legs, because these legs just do not want to go back to the way they were. And plus, this gives you another time to look. Pulling this out, not in the directions at all. All it does is show you to flip it up. It doesn't actually show you to pull it out. So now that we're back and ready, this is where things get a little complicated. And I say complicated because things don't go back the way you want them to. So I actually always end up popping the legs off, regardless if I'm actually trying to or not. So what I do is I actually get the legs back such that... Okay, so I try to get everything back in such a way that when I rejoin the legs, everything will line up. I found that simply attaching the wing first is actually better, and it would help if I used the correct side, because this is actually a soft piece of plastic. Pushing down will pop the leg joint off. So I get it lined up. I try my best to get it plugged in, as I'm failing horribly right now on camera. God damn it. Hold on. Okay, so we got that wing on. So what I'm going to do, I'll reattach this, leave the leg out, but turn it such that that little hole plugs into that little peg. What we'll then do is just get the leg, or just get the wing ready. Actually come under here and plug the wing in first, like I said, because doing that will actually enable us to line everything else up better. And there we go. Now, it's not perfect. In fact, I've made some pretty big mistakes, but there you go. Terradive in vehicle mode. Once again, I strongly recommend picking up this figure. I don't think you'll be disappointed, other than the ball joints on the legs.